Good afternoon, members of the African Kingdom. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Except we learned this weekend that the United States, alongside Israel, launched another large scale war against Iran.
No new wars. I voted for Trump because peace in the Middle East.
This is all we heard from Trumpers during the 2024 election campaign. And it just proves that Trump lied to you again, MAGAs. And you just cannot get away from all this war and conflict in the global system under Trump. Republicans, MAGAs love wars. They love getting involved in endless conflict in the Middle East. And this is just another prime example. Now, Quint D, early Saturday morning in the United States, created a message, and he said that the United States needed to attack Iran because Iran would not come to the table for a new nuclear agreement. He also claimed that we needed to advance regime change in Iran because the supreme leader was too repressive and was attacking civilians in Iran for protest. Interestingly enough, we already had a nuclear agreement under the former president, my uncle Barack Obama, in 2015, who created the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which was a nuclear agreement in which the UK, France, Germany, China, and Russia, and other members of the European Union all supported. This agreement limited Iran's ability to enrich uranium required to make nuclear weapons. And according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran was complying. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action required that Iran give up 98% of their nuclear stockpile. Let me break this down. It also required Iran to agree to only enriching uranium up to about 3.7%, which is not enough to enrich uranium needed for nuclear weapons. You usually need about 90% enrichment for nuclear weapons, and Iran agreed. They were complying. We had thousands of inspections at the nuclear sites in Iran, mostly Natanz and Fordo, in which it showed that Iran was actually complying with the deal. This deal also required that Iran agree to only enrich uranium for research and energy purposes. This is known as peaceful purposes. And also, Iran had to regain access to 100 and $120 billion of sanctions against Iran over time by members of the United Nations, the United States, and EU. And in order to get access to this money, this economic sanction money, they had to comply with the framework of the agreement, and they were. And then Trump came into office after he was elected, and he got into office in 2017, and he immediately dismantled the agreement. This is because obviously he's very jealous of my uncle Barack Obama, who was a worldwide respected past president and accomplished so much during his administrations that Trump just had to tear down anything that Barack Obama did, and now we are in the situation that we were in. Immediately once this plan was dismantled, Iran said, we are going to ramp up our enrichment, and we're going to start planning to try to enrich as much uranium as possible, which would be needed for nuclear weapons to protect ourselves. So we had an agreement. This was another pointless war entered in by the United States, actually ignited by the United States in the Middle East alongside Israel. And this is not about taking down an authoritarian regime. This is not about preventing an authoritarian regime from having nuclear weapons, because Trump hasn't cared about that in the past. China is an authoritarian regime with nuclear weapons. Russia is an authoritarian regime with nuclear weapons. North Korea is an authoritarian regime with nuclear weapons. Israel has a very authoritarian style leader with nuclear weapons. It's not about preventing authoritarians from having nuclear weapons. It's about Trump bowing down to Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. Now, why, you might ask, you might want to look up the relationship between Schmepstein and Israel, and you put two and two together. But another pointless, useless war by the United States in the Middle East, and I'm sure American troops will be stationed in the Middle East for years to come. But this is about Trump doing Israel's bidding because of potentially damaging information in those Schmepstein files, which Israel may have access to.